Hello and welcome to Hard Talk India. Under the BJP, the Defence Minister and the Defence Ministry had perhaps become the most controversial part of the government. So when the government changed, it was widely expected that things would be different. But just how much has altered in the last 2.5 months? That's the core question that I shall put today to the new Defence Minister of India, Pranab Mukherjee. Defence Minister, in his address to the nation, the Prime Minister spoke of the need to recapture the spirit of idealism and to restore a commitment to decency and morality. How much of a priority is this for you in the Defence Ministry?
Of course, this is the priority for the whole government. Naturally, defence is not out of the government.
So these are not just pretty words?
Of course not.
In which case, how do you account for the fact that on the 30th of June, just 5 weeks after you took over as Defence Minister, you forced the army to promote to Lieutenant General a man who had on 3 separate occasions been rejected by them as unfit for the rank?
No, it's not factually correct. It was the recommended of the earlier Defence Minister also, and twice he was considered. You know, in the promotion board there are certain areas where sometimes this year of the relevant period which you take into account. So there is a scope of revising that, and it was exactly done.
Minister,
and what I have done it exactly what the previous Defence Minister did.
Minister, the last promotion board met on December 2003 and it rejected the man.
So what?
So you overruled the rejection?
Of course, because that is my job and I went by the wisdom of my predecessors.
But this is politicization of the process of promotion in the army. What made
Not
you
at
think?
all.
What
Not
made you?
at all.
What made you think that as a civilian you could judge better than the army chief and the full army board?
It is not that. You are making a mistake. Then there was no need of sending it to the civilians. Civilian is not merely a puppet head. Therefore, we go by the recommendations of the selection board, but the ultimate choice lies with the civilian authority, and that is the basic fundamental principle of running the Defence Ministry and Defence Administration.
Defence Minister, 3 promotion boards rejected the officer: August 2001, August 2002, December 2003. In between, 1 selection board in August 2002 recommended him for promotion, and the then Cabinet Secretary sent it back for reconsideration. So even on that one occasion, the Cabinet Secretary sent it back.
I am afraid that you are trying to make a very fine distinction. Sometimes Cabinet Secretary is not a military authority, he is a civil authority, and above him is the Defence Minister. I am repeatedly telling you that I was guided by the recommendations made by the previous Defence Minister, and one selection board selected him. There have been number of cases, it is not one case. I don't know what prompted you to pick up this particular case.
It's been in the newspapers.
No,
the Pioneer,
so many
the Times
things,
of India.
so many things are coming in the newspaper, and so many persons are not considered, so many persons are considered. Those who are not considered, always it will appear in the newspaper because it is prepared.
It's not because
Therefore,
of,
this is not a question.
No, this is not because of the grievances of those who are not considered. I'm raising it because retired chiefs of the army are concerned that behind this lies motivations that they cannot understand. They say that the reason you forced this promotion is because the officer concerned is related to a senior Congress leader. You were lobbied and you couldn't say no.
That is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong, and this is the insinuation sometimes people bring without any basis. I was not influenced by anybody. I did not concede to the lobbying of any quarter.
Then, Minister, look at the way in which it was done. The officer concerned
I am
was...
sorry that if you just talk on the promotion of an individual, you are just wasting my time and your time.
I'm not talking...
What I had to say, I have said it. But a public interview does not mean, I am sorry to tell you, that it does not mean that you will just pick up one individual promotion case and waste my time.
I am not
that.
picking up...
I have spoken what I had to speak. I am sorry, I am not going to answer any question in respect of that.
Minister, I am talking about the government's commitment, and I am quoting the Prime Minister's word, to the spirit of idealism.
I am talking of idealism, and it is for me to decide what is idealism, what is not. and it is just not that you cannot waste my time and the time of the viewers on just promoting one individual case or not promoting one individual
Minister,
case. We have to talk on principle.
We are talking on principles.
Yes, it
I'm
is a
talking
principle.
about the principle of promoting on political
I am
grounds an
talking-
officer
no,
against the recommendations of the army chief.
I am flatly denying it is not so. Those who are interested in not getting his promotion, I understand who are these and why these newspaper items are coming, because always it happens, somebody gets the chance, somebody does not get the chance, and they pick up somebody.
Minister,
but it is not fair, I am sorry to tell it,
Let
it
me
is
put
not
you-
fair to pick up one individual
I am not
case
picking up
and
an
to give
individual.
that.
I am picking up.
It does
I am
not
picking up the
reflect.
principle of
It does
politicization
not
of army
reflect-
promotion.
No, it is the principle, because 99% cases we may go with the recommendations of the selection board, but there may be a departure in one or two cases, and that's why a civilian authority is to take the final decision.
Except that you did it.
Had it been so,
except that you
I'm
did
sorry
it
to point
5
out,
weeks
had
after
it been
becoming
so,
defense
there
minister.
was no need. There was no need of it. I'm sorry that you have picked up a very wrong subject at the very beginning. This is not hard talk. I'm sorry to point out that you are promoting an individual case and you are bringing another person who cannot defend himself. This is nothing to do with the promotion policy.
No, Minister, I am talking about the
I'm
commitment.
sorry, I am not going to make any comment on it. If you ask me, I will have to
I'm
remain
not
silent
asking.
on it.
I'm not asking you to make a comment. I'm putting something else to you, Minister.
No,
Can I?
just go to the other question. Not on this. I am not going to answer any question in respect of this.
You don't think that this refusal
I
will
am
look
definitely-
suspicious to the audience?
No, not at all. Because you have chosen a very wrong subject.
You're losing your temper.
No, I am not losing my temper. I am just speaking on that you are either promoting somebody's interest or you are just trying to denigrate somebody. It is not.
I am raising issues in the
No,
paper.
it is not. I am sorry. My
All right.
perception is totally different.
The viewers will have to decide for
They have,
themselves.
let them decide.
The viewers will decide.
No,
let
no,
me
them
let me
decide.
move on then.
Let them decide.
It's-
If that is the subject, we can call the interview off, Mr. Karan Thapar.
A second controversy that you face as defense minister today is to do with the widespread protests in Manipur as a result of allegations that army soldiers are alleged to have raped and killed Thangjam Manorma on the 11th of July. The army says that she was an arrested insurgent who tried to escape when she was shot. As defense minister, have you been able to establish the truth of the matter?
Court of inquiry is going on. As per the Assam Rifles Act, I do not know whether you are aware of it, there is a separate independent act made by the Parliament, Assam's Rifles Act, and as per the provision of the act, a court of inquiry is looking into it. In addition to that, state government of Manipur has established a judicial inquiry commission. Both these inquiry committees are functioning. Unless their reports are available, it would not be proper for me to speak on the merits and demerits of this.
I don't want you to do that at all. But does the fact that a court of inquiry has been appointed suggest, by implication, that you are dissatisfied with the army version?
Always this is a case when there is a custodial death, whether it is justified or not, but as per the act, court of inquiry is to look into it.
All right. Since the original incident came to light in the middle of July, newspapers, particularly the Indian Express and the Hindustan Times, have printed several allegations of alleged army atrocities going all the way back to 1984. Now, is the army guilty of excesses, or is this a malicious campaign? Which is it?
I would not sit on a value judgment, but the fact remains, as you yourself have mentioned, that from 1984, I will take you back even to the earlier days. The Armed Forces Special Power Act is imposed from 1958.
46 years ago.
Therefore, the fact remains there are insurgent activities there. There are large number of insurgent groups who are defying the authority of the state, and it has been found by the successive governments that civil administration there, normal police administration there are not equipped to deal with the situation. In view of that, it has been decided to deploy the armed forces.
Quite right. But my question was a little different. My question was different.
No, your question was that whether there are atrocities.
No,
And
my question is whether the stories of atrocities are justified or unfair.
There may be in cases some atrocities might have taken place in long years. But what I am trying to point out, that whenever such things take place in our system, there are remedial measures, there are ways to find it out.
At the moment, the protests have focused upon the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. The protesters want them repealed. Both you and the Home Minister have indicated that will not happen. However, newspaper reports are suggesting that your Chief Minister may be trying to find his own way of repealing the Armed Forces Special Powers Act.
First of all, I would like to correct you that it is not a matter of Chief Defence Minister or Home Minister, it's the government as a whole. Government as a whole decided that it is not the time to repeal the Armed Forces Special Power Act in Manipur.
So the fact in the Times of India that the Chief Minister is trying to repeal it,
the fact is, just let me complete my answer. The fact is that Chief Minister of Manipur came, he placed the demand of a section of the agitations that yes, there is a demand, whether in the given situation it is possible for the government of India to consider their demand. We said sorry, it is not possible.
So the matter ends there.
Up to now.
What about appeals to amend the act or to restrict it in its functioning? Are those possible?
You know, it depends on the extent and nature of the insurgent activities. And I would like to remind you that the state government recommended for the extension of the Armed Forces Special Power Act for 1 more year in the last May only, not 6 months ago, in the last May only. Therefore, viewing this situation, they considered that there is a necessity of the extension of this act to tackle the situation there. In between, certain things have happened, certain agitations are going on. Therefore, considering those aspects, Chief Minister came, made a case, he tried to impress upon us, but considering all aspects, it was a common decision, joint decision of the Government of India. Prime Minister was also there, I was there, Home Minister was there, that it is not possible.
Can I put something to you? In recent days, the Home Minister has said that whilst the Armed Forces Special Powers Act will not be repealed, he's held open the possibility that the Assam Rifles might be moved out of Assam. To many people in the army, that sounds as if he's saying that the act is right, but the armed forces are wrong.
No, it's not like that. This would be a, I think, distorted interpretation. But sometimes it happens that if a particular unit, for instance, this unit has been put in the barrack, it's not a question of withdrawal. But if some individuals or some units, there are agitations or allegations against them, pending inquiry, we do not put them into operation.
Won't that be seen as a slap on the face of the Assam Rifles?
No, I don't consider it, because Assam's rifle has not gone there on their own. Government of India has sent it. If Government of India decides that they will not deploy them, they are not going to deploy themselves.
Minister, let's move on to other matters. You've become Defence Minister at a time when all 3 service chiefs are extremely worried about the state of defence procurement in the country. As former Army Chief General Ved Malik has written, most of the weapons and equipment held by the Army are obsolescent. Yet politicians and senior bureaucrats, it's alleged, are reluctant to take decisions because they're scared of being accused of making money or getting involved in scams. What do you propose to do about this?
What I have proposed is reflected in the budget itself. I have stepped up substantial quantum in terms of budgetary outlet for procuring equipment.
You're talking about the 18% increase, but the problem is that the money allocated doesn't get spent.
Mr. Koron, you have developed a habit of not allowing your question, person interviewer to complete his question.
Go
it's
ahead.
not so.
Go ahead.
Therefore, I have stepped it up, and it has been pointed out by the Finance Minister, it has been pointed out by me, that solely this enhancement is because of our committed liabilities for procurement, and procurement is meant for modernization of the armed forces.
Quite right. But the problem is that the money allocated for procurement doesn't get spent, as your own Congress documents on sins and scams released by you before the elections pointed out.
I am not responsible for that.
24,000 crore in the last 3 years wasn't spent. Yet when the last government created a non-lapsable rolling defence fund, particularly to take care of this problem, you reversed the decision. Why?
First of all, that there is no relevance of the non-lapsable fund.
Why is it not relevant?
Because after all, finance minister is to give money. There is a non-lapsable fund for the donor, Department of Northeastern Region. Funds, money allocated, just listen, have the patience to listen.
I am.
Money allocated there amount to almost 6,000 crores of rupees. Finance minister could allocate only 1,500 crores of rupees. Because if money is not available with him, whether it is in non-lapsable fund or it is in the lapsable fund, matter remains the same.
Except for
so far the expenditure part is concerned, you cannot pass on the buck to me. It is because of the fact that in 3 consecutive years, substantial quantum of money even allocated at the BE stage was reduced at the RE stage. As a result of that, there could not have been spending for the procurements and for modernization.
Just so that people can understand the short forms you're using, you're talking about different stages of budget estimates. But are you giving a guarantee to service chiefs and to retired service chiefs who are very concerned about the procurement situation that you will ensure that money allocated in each year is spent in that year itself?
Perhaps you will have to wait till 28th February of the next year, when the budget for the next year will be presented. Because my saying is not adequate unless it is established on the ground, and that will be done, that will be shown. It will be done earlier, I will do it, but it will be known to the people on the 28th February or last working day of February in the next year.
That assurance is bound to be very welcome to serving officers and retired officers, because their one concern is that by refusing to accept a non-lapsable rolling fund, in fact by reversing the earlier government's proposal, you have perhaps taken away the one hope they thought was there.
Your knowledge is inadequate in that sense that it was just an intention.
Quite right, a proposal.
But no money was allocated. Therefore no fund was created. So what? It was just an expression of intention in the budget speech of the finance minister, but neither a head was created, not a penny was deposited there. So no question of my reversing of an action does not arise. Question of my revising an intention arises.
Minister, one other issue that is very important to the service chiefs, and in fact retired service chiefs will say perhaps it's the most important reform needed of all, that is the integration of civilian and military staff in the Defence Ministry. Your own Congress vision statement commits you to this. How quickly will you do it?
Integration is taking place in the way of functioning, and we have made it quite clear in our vision document what we want to achieve. Therefore, we would not interfere with the integration. Does not mean that everything should boil down at one particular point of time. Integration means that they will have the operational freedom, but the overall responsibility would remain with the civilian authorities, and that way it is being done.
But will you speed it up? Will you set a deadline by which time it's completed?
It's not a question of deadline, it's a continuing effort, and sometimes there may be some frictions here and there, some troubles here and there, and you have to iron it out.
But will it receive your full support?
Of course.
And it will in fact be pushed to the maximum by you?
It's not a question of a play of words. I am committed to have that integration, and I will try to see that it is integrated during my tenure.
What about the position of the Chief of Defence Staff? The Arun Singh Committee recommended it, the previous government agreed to it in principle. What is your position?
But I have stated earlier that I have not yet decided on this issue. Therefore, no question
Except that the funny thing is that if you look at, in fact, the comment made by the Congress in its vision statement, you said that you would speedily implement the recommendations made for the reform and reconstructing of defence organizations and the armed forces of the country. Doesn't that suggest a commitment to CDS?
That's not. Because after all, I am one of the author of the vision document, so I know what happened. There was a debate that whether we should have it. We did not put that, otherwise we would have put that in a letter in their language.
So at the moment you have an open
no question
mind.
of implication.
At the moment you have an open mind.
I have an open mind.
Do you know when you'll come to a decision?
As and when I will come to decision, it will be a public decision, known decision.
But it could take years.
May take year. I have not said that my decision would be for creation of CDS.
It could go either way.
It may go either way.
Defence Minister, the army at the moment has a shortfall of 13,000 officers representing 25% of its total strength. How concerned are you about this?
Yes, I am. And I am more concerned that many persons are not joining. Moreover, I am getting little worried that when I find that the bright officers are requesting for resigning and going away somewhere else. That's why we should try to create incentives for the bright persons, young persons.
You mean
to
earlier
come and
promotions
join.
at earlier stages?
First, promotion is one factor. Second, in addition to promotion, certain other infrastructural facilities are to be provided. For instance, what we are doing, it's a massive scheme, almost 17,000 crores of rupees will be spent on the married accommodation project which we have begun. They live in a very difficult terrain, far away from the families. So in certain areas, if we can create the married accommodation project successful,
Make life easier for them. Make life easier for them.
Yeah.
What about something else? The army is very keen that you should perhaps arrange for lateral induction of officers between the ranks of lieutenant colonel and major who retire at 35-40 so that they can be absorbed into the paramilitaries or perhaps even into frontier services.
No, there are various proposals and it is one such proposals. But you know, different forces have their different nuances. And there the problems are. I had the privilege of examining it in my other capacity as chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee of Home Affairs, which deal with large number of central paramilitary forces. There is a vested interest that the promotion line should be from the rank themselves, and they do not want the induction at a relatively higher level
lateral induction
from the other
is
side.
not easy.
That's why it is not very easy.
But you're considering it.
No, I am considering it provided it does not create tension in other areas.
In other words, it has to be a political consideration.
Not political consideration, it will have to be basically a consideration of the management of the forces, central paramilitary forces like BSF, CRPF, etc.
Defence Minister, thank you very much for talking to Hard Talk India.
It has become really hard. Thank you.